Good evening, everyone. Friday, the 3rd of April, 2026. Welcome back, one and all, across the world, wherever you may be watching from. And happy Easter, which is one happy Easter wish, Mr. Inman, more than the King of England was able to issue the nation.
Well, I mean, you know, if it's Ramadan Mubarak or Eid Mubarak or, I don't know, Edward Mubarak, it's all the same to the king, but mention anything about Christianity or Christ and he goes weak at the knees.
Ramadama ding dong.
Ramadama ding dong.
Yep, happy Easter.
Salami alaikum.
Happy Easter to everyone. Yes, very well indeed, Kid Mambo. Thank you very much, Richard. I've had the best week since I've been out here in Spain this week. I've had all my family over there. Actually, still some of them here, but most of them have now gone home. I've had an absolutely amazing week. I've had a nice little break. We are now back in the fold, back on the ball, back among the action, and we've got a lot of things to go through tonight. But first of all, go on, Richard. Go on,
mate. Before we start, right?
Go on.
I think, you know, we're always talking about you coming back to the UK and all that sort of stuff, right? I think with your tan in the current state it's in, mate, a little bit of Grecian 2000 or whatever they call it on the heads, nice dark black mullet, maybe some dark contact lenses, grow a bit of a beard, get down to Calais, you're on a dinghy, you're in, mate. You're in. You're in.
Do you know what?
You're that tan.
When my daughter turned up this week, she went, "Blimey, Dad, you're half brown." I said, "Really?" I said, "I think I've lost most of my tan, but it must be this everyday sort of."
It's accumulative, isn't it, Paul? You know,
it's accumulative. That's what it is, mate. It's accumulative. Even that, I'm not bathing very often, but it's one of the two. So first of all, Rich, what do you make of the king so far? At least, not that I've seen, and it's been reported today that there's been no Easter message from the king. What do you think?
Well, I was just looking for one of those videos, you know, with a tumbleweed, because that would have been very fitting to talk about the King's Easter message, wouldn't it? He just hasn't done Easter this year, Paul. And, you know, you would think with him being the head of the Church of England and all that, he would actually do an Easter message. But you see, this is the whole point, isn't it, Paul? Like, there's a bigger picture here. The establishment, the British establishment, has fully bought into the Islamization of the UK. That's why we get attacked so much. And whether it's the king, whether it's the prime minister, whether it's the police service, whether it's the mayor of London, every single organ of power has been infiltrated and taken over by Islamists. Probably Muslim Brotherhood, to be honest with you. There's a lot of Muslim Brotherhood activity going on. So I think it's just more of the same, Paul. It's just more of the same.
The big question is, Richard, the thing that we keep hearing is that the king has converted. I mean, I find it hard to believe, but I just, do you know what? I just don't know.
Well, here's the thing, right? He's meant to be head of the Church of England. He shouldn't be uttering any words in Arabic about Islam. He shouldn't be salam coming. He shouldn't be Allah Akbaring. He shouldn't be Eid Mubaraking or Ramadan Mubaraking. He shouldn't be doing any of that. He should stick to his faith, and his faith. Yeah. If he's head of the Church of England, and of course that was one of the big things during the Reformation in England and the Reformation in Scotland and to an extent in Ireland. It was this idea of the king being the head of the church, because what a lot of Christians would have said, well, no, actually Christ's the head of the church. The king is just a sovereign that rules over us. He's not the head of the church, in the same way that they would have believed the Pope wasn't the head of the church. So that's another issue, obviously. But when you think about it, it is relevant because it kind of proves the point to those people, you know?
Just looking at this comment, look, Anthony Galton says, Dimwit Dave from the Greens is what you get if you order George Soros from Temu.
Love it.
That's a clever one. That's funny.
Love it.
What did you make of it? What did you make? Dimwit Dave. I like that. That's funny. Rich, we haven't, really spoken to each other much this week, obviously for obvious reasons. But what did you make of Dimwit Dave and Hannah the Spanner on stage last week with their various friends?
Listen, well, It's not the sort of thing you see at United Kingdom. Put it that way. Let's just say that. It's not that sort of family friendly environment, is it? I mean, I think there was a. I've got to be careful what I say, haven't I? I don't want to get your channel banned, but I think there was people of various different sort of from the alphabet soup variety on stage with Dave, obviously including Dave himself. Very strange. The worrying thing is, Paul, how well they're polling. I mean, it is like something out of a 1980s
But
sitcom.
Rich, I
Citizen
can't,
Smith.
I can't
He's like a gay Citizen Smith, isn't he?
I can't take them seriously, and I can't take the polls seriously because I refuse to believe, my mind just won't accept there are that many mentally unwell people in our once United Kingdom. But maybe there is, I don't know. I just can't get my head around it.
Cast your head back to the Brexit vote, okay? What was the score? 48-52? So at least 48% of the population are pretty dim, mate. Let's just get it right.
Oh, well, yeah, but Richard, I suppose you could say that a lot of those people that voted for Remain may have had a reason. It might have been business. It might have been because they, for many reasons, they could have had a genuine reason. But the Greens, I mean, really, come on, what do they offer apart from just absolute insanity?
It's not just the Greens, Paul. This is a very serious point. And I was watching a podcast. I forget who it was that was making the point. But the point is this. I think it was Jeff Taylor, actually. And it's a very good point that at the next election, okay, let's say Reform are sitting at what, 26% or something like that now? They've dropped a good bit on the 26%. Let's say Restore on 10% and Advance are on 2 or 3%, whatever. I'm just picking figures out the air, right? So that's getting us up to about what, 36, about 38%. Now, if you add up the Labour vote, the Green vote, the SNP vote, the Plaid Cymru vote, the Islamist vote, and all those birds of a feather that are going to flock together, if they get their act together and join together as one block and vote tactically, we have a massive, massive problem. We could end up with a now think about this horror show, Paul, right? We could end up with a Green, Labour, Lib Dem, Plaid Cymru, SNP, SDLP coalition in Parliament. That would be a horror show for the Union. It'd be a horror show for anybody who thinks that they're going to get remigration or stop the immigration madness, or we're going to be able to deal with the issue of the Islamic takeover of the UK. None of those things are going to be on the radar. Yeah. So, and it brings us back to what we talk about every single podcast. We need to find some way of getting everyone together.
We seem to have we've obviously got the most unpopular Prime Minister of a lifetime, right? Yeah. Have we got the most unpopular monarch?
Well, certainly since I've been alive. We've only had 2, Paul.
Well, yeah, we've only had 2, but is he the most unpopular monarch for? I don't know how many.
I think there's been some stinkers, hasn't there? Going back through history, there's been some stinkers. Charles I wasn't that popular, Paul.
What about more recent times, Richard?
Well, we haven't beheaded one. We haven't beheaded one since Charles I, but Charles II wasn't much better, and now we've got Charles III, and Charles the whatever,
Almost in slang, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly right.
We've got probably the most unpopular monarch of a few lifetimes. We've got the most unpopular Prime Minister of all time.
Mm-hmm. We've really hacked off the Americans, which isn't good. In anyone's book, it is not good, especially someone like Trump. And as much as we all love Trump, he has got a little bit of a vindictive side, So we've created when I say we, it's not us, is it? It's the Labour government. But what we can't afford, Paul, is to have another Labour government or a Green government or a Lib Dem government or anything lefty and progressive. We just can't. Our country will not survive that.
Absolutely. Look, before we go on, Richard, because we're going to be talking mostly about what's happening at home. I don't want to get too tangled up in anything that's abroad necessarily, but I want to ask you about The couple of US planes that have been shot down over Iran over the last 24 hours or so, it's not looking good, is it?
That's really bad, because what it shows is that they've either got a fresh supply of maybe, shoulder launched, what they call them, man pads, anti-aircraft missiles, which if they've got them and they're actually effective, that's what won the war in Afghanistan for the Mujahideen in the 1980s against the Russians, getting the Stinger missiles from America. So that's a worry for the Americans. Two planes in 24 hours is very worrying, but that's in a war that has been pretty one-sided until now, Paul. The Americans and the Israelis have been just doing pretty much what they want from the air.
Is it going to stay that way? That's the thing.
Well, we'll find out, won't we? And we'll find out how much resolve Trump's got. I don't think the Israelis would stop anytime soon if they were allowed to carry on. It's just going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, when I say interesting, it's frightening if you're an American pilot or if you're family of an American pilot. And at the end of the day, if I see an American pilot shot down, I count it very much the same as I would a British pilot, because they're our closest ally. You know what I mean? It's like,
Well, they were.
They were until Keir Starmer messed up. You know what I mean? But not that I'm a massive fan necessarily of everything the Americans do. It depends on the president, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But I think it's worrying. Paul. Again, I'm not an expert in that field.
No.
You could have, probably Tusi's the man to ask about that. What's going on, because he seems to be plugged into all that sort of stuff. But
yeah.
And there's some really good YouTube channels out there doing a lot of good stuff on this as well. A lot of these American ex-pilots and ex-military guys doing some really, really good videos on it. There is one, I forget his name. He's an ex-American pilot, and he's done some great stuff. So it'll be when I see his video, I'll tell you next time we're on. And if there's been another 10 planes shot down by then we know there's a real problem. You know what I mean?
Skylong says a senior Turkish imam has said that the king became a Muslim 20 years ago. I haven't seen that. I don't know where. I've no reason to disbelieve what he's saying. So I've not seen.
I would say nothing would surprise me, Paul, because Gavin Ashenden was the Queen's vicar, and Gavin had an awakening to the dangers of Islam probably about 10 years ago, maybe it's more now, and he started talking to the Queen about Islam, and he got a phone call one morning from one of his higher ups in the bishopric in the Church of England, and whoever it was, maybe it was the Archbishop of Canterbury, I'm not sure, said, Gavin, I believe you've been talking to the Queen about Islam. And he said, oh yeah, that's right. And the voice on the other end of the phone just said to Gavin, says, well, Gavin, the Queen's been listening. And Gavin Ashenden knew exactly what was being said, and he said, you'll have my resignation in the morning. So he was basically fired from being the Queen's vicar because he was telling her about the real dangers of Islam, and that wasn't appropriate. Now that shows how ingrained it was even back then, Paul. Yeah. So we're in very, very dark and dangerous times. If the king has converted, I just wish he would have the strength of his conviction and admit it and abdicate, because he would have to abdicate. And that's the thing, I, for the life of me, cannot understand how anyone would convert to Islam. I just can't understand it. When I see an English convert to Islam, I think two things. I think stupid and traitor. That's the two things I think,
Look, Richard, later on in the show, I want to get into something that's really very important, potentially. Look, for nearly a year, I think for more than a year, you and I deliberately avoided the term civil war.
Yeah.
And we shied away from talking about it because we certainly didn't want to play any role in hyping that thought, which I think is a responsible thing to do. Being more realistic now, when we look around at some of the big names that are talking about civil war, the potential and the possibilities of it, I just want to put it in your mind that later on in the show, I think it would be a good idea if we spoke about preparation is the wrong word, but preparation of how to make sure you don't come to any harm if sporadic violence was to break out. Now, I've got my own thoughts on that. But as a former serviceman, someone that's seen this sort of thing in the past, you've been out on the streets and experienced it, just bear that in mind, because later on in the show, I want to potentially talk about that, see what the viewers think, because it is important. If something was to happen in your street, what should you do to protect yourself and your family, or what can you do to protect the lives, the safety of your family in that immediate danger? You know, long term is something completely different. But if it's a sporadic outburst, a sudden outburst, what can people do to make sure, or to try and ensure, their family and their own safety? So we'll try and cover that maybe a little bit later on. Tina says, Richard, have you heard from Lubna? She was very distressed in her last video, and she has deleted them all. I spoke to Lubna a couple of days back, sent her a message to see if she's okay. Quite honestly, she isn't okay, but she's alive. She's alive, she's well, but she's scared, she's under threat, she's in danger. And I'm afraid it is what it is. You know, it's just an awful, awful situation. And I think what tips the balance for Lubna, and I'm going to say it as it is, Richard, I think what tipped the balance for Lubna was seeing so many people who she thought was there to help her suddenly turn against her. And I think that broke her heart.
It was appalling.
I think that was the straw that broke Lubna's back, you know. And it's a shame. It's a real shame, because she was doing good work.
Yeah. And I think, Paul, you know, no matter what people think of us, you know, we have stood strong on that, Paul. That's our principle, that we're not interested in, you know, skin color. You know, we're not playing that game. We're not going to talk about it. We're not going to play it. And you know, I've had Lubna on my channel. I've been on Lubna's channel. She's been on your channel. I've had Shohab. You know, Ben. You know, we're not playing that game where we're bothered about what people, you know, what their appearance is. It's what they believe that I care about. And I think that's the most important thing. I don't know if you saw the three pastors on Dan Wotton tonight.
I didn't. No, I didn't.
Gavin Bowby was on. Gavin's called the Mosque Buster. I know Gavin, right? I quite like Gavin, but he is, you know, he's quite openly and says he's an ethno-nat. I think he says he's an ethno-nat, but you know, he's on that sort of. And there was a real interesting debate between them all, and it was civil, it was robust. They went at each other, but you know, that's the way it should be done, Paul. People should debate and talk about things in a civil manner, not in a way, you know, that Lubna got it and Ben got it and other people got it. It was reprehensible, Paul, to be honest with you. And I'm going to leave that there because I don't want to go down that road again. But that's my feeling on it. And I'm never going to shy away from that either, Paul, because I believe what I believe, and if people don't like it, they can do one.
Phil, thank you very much, Phil. Anyone else remember a few years ago, Qatari sheikhs rocked up at the palace with Tesco bags stuffed full of cash?
Well, the Qataris have been splashing the cash around London for a long time. Do you remember they bought Chelsea Barracks, Paul, and all that? There's that development. I don't know what's happening with that, whether anything's been built on it yet. But you know, Chelsea Barracks, I think, was where the SAS were based in London, if I remember rightly, and it got sold to the home of the Muslim Brotherhood in the Middle East. You know, unbelievable.
Nicola. Sorry, Rich. Nicola, thank you. Don't know why everyone's shocked about Charles. His mentor was Mountbatten. He has Andrew as a brother, and Savile was his best friend. Ooh.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I think you know, when the Queen died, I really do think I think the monarchy died, really, Paul, to a great extent.
Look, I'll be honest with you, Richard, and it's always difficult to speak ill of the dead, particularly the Queen, because I did used to love the Queen. I mean, it was a lifetime ambition of mine to meet the Queen, and you know, obviously, I never did get to meet her, and that would have been my number one person. But I've got to say, mate, I think she lets down the last 20 years.
She was getting old, I suppose.
Look, bless her. God rest her soul. She was a great queen for many reasons, but I just feel that the last 20 years of her reign, maybe the last 25 years, she kind of forgot where she came from. And whether that was through political pressure, whether it was through age, whatever it was through, as a monarch, as the leader of the church and as the leader of the nation,
Yeah.
mate, there's no excuse for that, Richard. It's not, she weren't a YouTuber, she weren't bloody, working for GB News. She was our monarch.
Yeah.
And she was the, defender of the faith, not faiths. Defender of the faith, defender of the nation, the British people. She was there throughout the Second World War. I mean, come on. Like, as I said, there's going to be a lot of people maybe don't like me for that because, the Queen is much loved or was much loved.
Yeah.
But I feel she let us down the last 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole establishment have, Paul. That's why we're in the mess we're in. And I would go back probably to the 80s, to be honest with you. If you look at what the trajectory has been, it's been global. Maggie Thatcher, right? And this is going to be heresy to a lot of people. Maggie Thatcher was a globalist. Now, she was a great leader in many respects. She did the Iranian embassy siege militarily. She was decisive. She took on the IRA. She took a massive gamble with the Falklands, and it paid off. She, put a little bit of steel into George Bush Sr.'s backbone during the first Gulf War. So in that way, she was a great leader, but she was a globalist. And globalism has been a big part of the problem. Because obviously, when you have global trade and you're literally subletting your shipyards and your steelwork to China or India or wherever it is you want to make stuff cheaper, that's going to affect and demoralise the indigenous population. Because when I was growing up, Paul, I don't know about you. I mean, Middlesbrough was a working class town, right? We had ICI, we had the shipyard, we had the oil rigs, we had the North Sea oil industry. There was well-paid jobs in Middlesbrough, and of course, because there was well-paid jobs, people were building houses, and there was a lot of commerce, a lot of trade. There was a lot of local businesses owned by local people. So if you had enough get up and go and you set up a business, you could do really well. Now, if you look at it now, a kid now leaving school, he ain't going to be able to set up a business very easily in the UK because of the taxation regime. He's not going to be able to buy a house unless he's got a fantastic salary.
Yeah.
The way the state is, they try to encourage everybody to go to university and get yourself completely saddled with debt, which is the opposite. Everyone should be encouraged to be a plumber, a bricklayer, a joiner, a plasterer, whatever. Get on the tools because that's where the money's going to be. Not doing, sort of sit-down jobs. So the whole thing has been completely skewed. And like I say, it started in the 80s, got worse in the 90s, and got catastrophically worse under Blair. And now we're in the state we are now. And obviously, when a country's demoralised and they get lots of migrants coming in, it's going to cause problems. It has to cause problems, especially when you get the Islamist migrants coming in. And I still maintain that the biggest threat is Islamic immigration. Mass Islamic immigration is what has changed the culture of our country. We can pretty much cope with other immigration, but the mass, somebody put in the comments about Bradford. Bradford is like a foreign city to a great extent because of Islam. It's not because of the colour of people's skin, it's because of Islam.
Mind you, though, Rich, I mean, to be fair, I mean, I've got to say this. It's not just, I mean, look what's been going on in Clapham this week and in London with
I agree.
I mean,
100%.
These are not Muslims running around.
No. I mean, they're black, and again, Mike Neville, who I know, he was involved in our movement at the very beginning, in the veterans in 2017. Mike Neville's an ex Royal Military policeman, but he ended up, I think, an inspector or chief inspector in the police, and his job was basically to be in the ops room watching the CCTV. He's an expert with CCTV recognition, all that sort of stuff. But he said, he was in Clapham, he was on Talk TV, he said he was in Clapham before all the crazy sort of racism quotas came in, after obviously what happened with Stephen Lawrence trial? I'm not sure, it was one of the trials anyway. And he said it didn't matter what colour someone was. They'd be getting, if they were doing that, they were getting busted. But now they know that if that's happening, if the police start kicking
Yeah.
doors in and it's all black people getting arrested, all they've got to do is say this is happening because we're black, and straight away it changes the whole narrative. So 100% agree with that. And the other guy that was on was Ken Hines, who actually did security on one of our marches, and he's a black guy who works in the community, and he was saying exactly the same thing. He says when he was he'd just come back from Ghana. When he was in Ghana, he nearly drowned in the sea. Whole black lads came in to save him, and they nearly drowned, right? Saving him. And he says he comes back and he sees black kids the same age in London, been an absolute menace. No respect for society, no respect for authority, no respect for the shops, no respect for the law. And he says we got big problems. So
Listen, I was watching Black Belt Barrister.
And by the way, that's not singling out, black people. That's just saying that problem in Clapham.
Well, when you watch Richard,
everyone there was
I
black.
was going to say you don't really have to say that. You've only got to watch the video.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, right? Was watching Black Belt Barrister early on, always a good watch, always good value. And he had an interesting take on it. The aftermath of these events, the difference between the response from the government, Starmer in particular, as to after the Southport riots, if that's what you want to call them, where he came straight on TV, said that people were going to be arrested, they were guilty before they even went to court, that the courts would be sitting 24 hours, putting those people, remanding them on custody. What if we had in London? 6 arrests, all young girls, almost certainly going to get NFA'd.
Absolutely. And I think that's the thing. The exact same thing happened in Ballymena, Paul. The riots in Ballymena, there was people getting 4 years in prison for throwing plastic bottles at the police. Now think about that. 4 years in prison for throwing plastic bottles at the police. Absolutely incredible. And again, it was the same thing. There was no saying, well, why did they actually riot and burn everything in that area of Ballymena? Well, I can tell you why, because it was infested with an organised criminal gang that was made up of Roma gypsies. That's why they went in and burnt everything. And the people of the areas, they put up with it for nearly 10 years, and then they just snapped, and that's the problem, Paul. If it's, I
mean, how much of that can be put down to youthful exuberance? Because let's be honest, as teenagers, we all did silly things.
What, we're talking about Clapham or?
Yeah, I'm talking about Clapham, what's been going on. I mean, can we put any of it down to youthful exuberance? I mean, bearing in mind that when we were young, Rich, there were no mobile phones. There was no easy way to organise a mass meet-up like that.
I think when I was a kid in Middlesbrough, there was a lot of fighting between different housing estates. There was a bit of stuff going on with Pakistani Muslims even back then. So there was quite a lot of ag on the street. But it wouldn't have been at that. It wouldn't have been at that scale. You wouldn't have had hundreds of people mobbing a shop in Middlesbrough, stealing everything. I mean, that looked like a riot, except they weren't breaking windows. You know what I mean? They just went in and lifted everything, didn't they? In that Marks and Spencers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's something wrong. Do you know? It's funny. Someone put about the Clash, London Calling. I was thinking about a Clash song, but it was another Clash song I was thinking about. I'm not going to say what it was because people would just lose the plot. But yeah.
This is interesting, Rich. This is interesting. Look, Robert Seagal says, I was with one of the most respected property auctioneers this week in his 60 years. Never seen residential price collapse due to the state of the country and can't see any improvement. Well, yeah.
And do you know what, Paul? The house prices in Northern Ireland are still going through the roof.
Really?
Guess why?
Well, go on, you tell me.
Different demographics.
Well, yeah, but it's of course, yeah. I was thinking of Ireland in general, but yeah, Northern Ireland.
No, I mean, the South's in big trouble. You see, the South's in big trouble because they've allowed, hundreds of thousands of non-nationals to come in and settle and change the demographics. Same as what's now we've got them. In fact, I'm going to a demonstration tomorrow. In Coleraine to protest about the mass migration problem, but it's still not as bad. We're still a cohesive, ethnically You know, I'm classed as an immigrant in Northern Ireland, Paul. Do you know what I mean? That's how tight Northern
Yeah,
Ireland is. You know,
yeah.
so we've still got a tight community that stick together, and will stand. And that, I think that's the big difference. You
Yeah.
know, so well, we get onto it when we're talking about what you're going to talk about later on, because that's a very, very important issue that you
Yeah.
want to talk about.
Nigel Farage, thanks, mate. Alex Phillips gave a very touching Easter message this morning on her talk show. Well done, Alex. That's good to see. And Nigel, again, former Met Chief Inspector Mike Neville has said this week that a Freedom of Information he submitted came back with 70% of Met police officers had not made a single arrest in 12 months. Wow.
Oh, they better make up for it on the 16th, eh?
Wow. Well, if they give them the chance. And the key is don't give the buggers the chance, right?
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Julie says, no, Paul and Richard, it's just kids out of control, no respect. Yeah, I tend to agree. I agree.
Yeah.
When I said, is that just used for, can we put some of it down to youthful exuberance? I'm playing devil's advocate, right? It's not. It's not. When we were bored, when we were kids, we'd go out and do something half sensible, to be fair. Star Wars is laughing at the world at the moment. Is the laughing? I think you mean laughing stock. I tell you what, I will say one thing though. I mean, he's Teflon, isn't he? I mean, he seems to be coming through one crisis after another, and the bugger's still there.
They've got that massive majority in Parliament, Paul, and again, we could look. Well, that's what happens when the vote on the right is split, Paul. That's what happens when it's split and there's no strategy for that vote. Yeah. And that's something that I think coming up to this election, we really need to think very carefully as a movement and as a people on the right, how we're going to sort this problem out.
Nearly 2,000 people watching on this lovely Friday evening, guys. Please don't forget to give us an upvote. We'd really appreciate a thumbs up. It helps with the video. A couple of things on videos, actually. I've had a number of reports this week from regular viewers and subscribers that they have suddenly realised they have been unsubscribed from my channel. I tell you, wow. Alan, our dear friend Alan, you know Alan?
Yeah.
Alan left me a message earlier in the week, said, Paul, I can't believe it. I've just realised that I've been unsubbed from your channel. So please make sure that you are still subbed. That looks like it's been happening. It is what it is. I'm not saying that YouTube are targeting me. I'm not saying that at all, because it happens. Every now and again, the algorithm works in your favour. Every now and again, it has the opposite effect. And that is what it is at the moment. But a thumbs up would be appreciated this evening.
Yeah, and jump onto Counter Media as well, and
subscribe over there.
Subscribe to Counter Media. If you've been unsubscribed from any of my channels, dive onto Counter Media, because Alan sent me a message about that as well. So yeah, I think you got unsubscribed from mine as well, Paul. So it makes you wonder how many. I wonder once you get a sort of contagion, do they just start, killing some of your subscribers off? Who knows? I kept getting unsubscribed until I got a channel member.
I honestly don't know, mate. I honestly don't know. It is what it is. Let's have a little look.
Just one more thing on the Clapham thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, it's not. We're not attacking people because they're black. We're just saying the people that were actually causing the problem in Clapham were black. There's a difference. Do you know what I mean? There's a difference between that. And when you look at the great work that the black churches are doing, and people like Ken Hines and others, there's a lot of people doing some really, really good stuff.
Richard, I think it's very simple. It's very, very simple for me. All communities, right? And I mean, I wish there was only one community, but all of our communities have to own their own issues. If you don't, as a community, if you don't own your own issues, you're the problem.
I agree.
So I'm sick and tired of this. I don't want to say he's black. I don't want to say he's Muslim. I don't want to say he's white. I don't want to say he's this, that, or the other.
Yep.
It don't matter. Own it, right? When we get paedophiles in our communities, what do? We out them and we own them, right? And we punish them. And it should be the same in any communities. Look, where I used to live, there was a little gang of white lads that used to speed around on their mopeds at night, nicking things, you know, making a nuisance of themselves. The local community owned it. They outed these lads, they outed their families. We called them out and the problem was resolved. So we shouldn't have to be frightened of describing a very obvious particular demographic just because of the colour of their skin, no matter whether they're black, white, green or yellow.
Yep.
It is what it is. And the footage from Clapham tells its own story. We shouldn't have to look at it and pretend we can't see what we can clearly see.
Absolutely agree. Totally.
And I think that's fair. I just think that's fair.
It is fair.
Yeah, a lot of people saying they've been unsubbed and are only just noticing it.
Well, guys, if you're watching and you want to be subscribed, go to both channels, go to Paul's, and you know, I prefer you to sign onto Counter Media, to subscribe to Counter Media, because again, that's the one that's monetized. The other one, you know, has lost quite a lot of subscribers since this feeding frenzy that I'm not going to talk about, the feeding frenzy we had the last couple of weeks. Yeah,
put your glasses on.
You want to be on, get back on the channels.
Put your bins on, Richard, because I'm going to let you loose on this one. I'll let you read this out. Ready? Are you ready? Well, no, I mean, look, you know, this sort of thing comes up. I'll leave you to read it. Do you, Tommy Tards, seriously believe Islam is driving this agenda? I'm afraid as soon as you use the term Tommy Tards, you've lost me, right? Because, you know, I ain't anyone's tard, right? So...
Listen, Marvin, I just want to ask you, if you're calling us Tommy Tards and saying, do I believe Islam is driving the agenda? The answer to that is yes. And no doubt, in the same way that I'm always accused of being a Mossad agent, you're obviously working for the Qataris and the Muslim Brotherhood, my friend.
Yeah.
In fact, what's that behind you?
No doubt. I mean, look, you know, whether you know it or not,
keep watching the channel if it annoys you. Keep watching the channel if it annoys you. Just be careful of your blood pressure.
I just find it strange that people actually believe this shit.
Yeah,
they believe it.
Yeah. There's one there in the comments, Paul. Muslims have started building a militia. That's a very important point. That is a very important point. It's back up the way somewhere, but yeah.
And this is a good point as well. What happened in Clapham was not shoplifting; it was looting.
I agree. Absolutely.
That's exactly what it was. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Richard, one of your lovely viewers, has gifted 5 UK
CO2 lad,
UK memberships.
Absolute legend. Thanks, CO2 lad. Bless you.
Can I have one of them, Richard? If he's gifted them, can I have one?
Yeah. Just the same way I'll get all them ones that were gifted to me on your channel, Paul.
That's it, mate. Yeah. Well, listen. What's mine's mine, and what's yours is mine, and what's mine's my own.
I know, Paul. I know.
Let's get into. I'll tell you what. We'll leave the prep thing till last, right? Because it's going to be a long one, I think.
Yeah.
Did a video a couple of days back, Rich, about Rupert Lowe and Restore had kind of tweaked their migration policy and more importantly, had kind of made their position a little bit more transparent for everyone. A lot of people have contacted me saying they're happier now. They feel more comfortable now that things have been clarified. Some people have agreed with that. Some people have criticised me for that. But what's your view on what Rupert said? I mean, we might differ.
Can I be honest with you? I don't know what he said. I haven't been ahead of it. Haven't been across it. So I need someone to tell me what he said and read something out to me or put something on the screen. I just haven't got looking at it. I mean, if he's come out and condemned, you know, the vile racism that was done by people who were claiming to be members of Restore, then that's really good. That's very positive. But I don't know. I haven't seen it.
I think more than anything, what it was confirmation that, how can I put it in simple layman's terms?
I can take fairly complex dialogue.
Yeah. No, I'm just trying to work this right, not to give people more bloody ammunition. You know what I mean?
Don't matter what we say, Paul. We're going to give them ammunition. You know,
there's about treading on eggshells. But I think what he did was he made it clear that everyone is welcome to join Restore if they love the country, and that has made a lot of people feel more comfortable.
Good.
And people have been saying, I mean, I've been going through some of the comments tonight in preparation for tonight's show. And some people are very much in agreement with the video that I made yesterday. If you haven't seen it, please go and watch it. It's about Rupert and Restore, and I congratulated him and said, you know, thank you, and it's a good move. And that Rupert has now become a lot more electable by making that clear and shutting down some of the horrible noise that was surrounding the party. And other people have said that we're trying to destroy him, which is insane. You know, all I've said all along is that, look, this would be my view. This is my advice. If you want to be mainstream and you want to win an election, you have to become electable.
Yep, I agree.
Because if you're not electable, you can't be elected, right?
Absolutely. And, you know, if you go down a very extreme route, I don't care what people say, the British people are not an extreme people. Now, a lot of British people are really angry with what's going on. And, you know, quite absolutely justifiably angry. And that's maybe he's making people say things and behave in a way they wouldn't normally behave, right? But the British people are not an unreasonable, extreme people. You know, there's been, you know, you think about it, you had the Mosley and the British Union of Fascists in the 30s, and then you had, you know, National Front in the 70s and the BNP in the 90s and 2000s. They never really got anywhere, Paul. You know, and I'm not, by the way, I am not comparing Restore with any of those parties whatsoever. But what I'm saying is any party that's perceived to be, you know, of that ilk doesn't succeed. They just don't, because the British people are a fair-minded, tolerant people. That's the whole point. That's what we're like, you know, and that's one of the things that we can be proud of. That we're not, you know, we're not hate-filled bigots, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I obviously my loyalty is to Advance, and to Ben. You know, I'm staying with that. I'm not shifting that opinion. But again, we're a long way out from a general election yet, Paul. You know, and
Marvin's back again. I'll deal with him this time. He says your movement does this with Muslims and Islam. You encourage singling out this group exclusively. You are the hypocrites. Let me have a little guess, Marvin. Let me have a little guess. I
can read your mind, Paul. I'm reading your mind.
I think that you think the real problem is the Jews, don't you, Marvin? Let's be honest. Come on, own up.
Come on,
Marvin, just be truthful with us. Come on,
have
tell
the
us.
strength of your conviction.
Yeah,
and just say, as a sadly somebody that I used to have a lot of respect for phoned me up one day, this Scottish person, and said to me in the sort of Glaswegian accent, Richard, it's all the Jews. It's all the Jews. You know, never spoke.
I mean, look, Richard, I don't go into all this stuff that these people go into, but one thing I do know, I've not seen any mass attacks on schools. I've not seen any bloody attacks on London Bridge. I've not seen people murdering kids at schools. Just come on, Marvin.
I mean, if that's what you're thinking, Marvin, just tell us.
Just tell us.
Maybe it's the Christians he's blaming, or the Buddhists, or the Hindus. You know, I don't know, or the Jedi. The Jedi can be a problem, Paul. If you give them a lightsaber, never give a Jedi a lightsaber in school ever.
Yeah,
just don't do it.
Come, Marvin. I'm waiting for you, Marvin. I'm going to go straight to your chat if I can. So hopefully I'll get to see it. But come on, Marvin, pop it in. Let's have a little look,
I think he's
Marvin.
balled it, mate. I think
he'll come back.
We'll
Marvin,
see.
are you going to own up? Are you going to own this, or are you going to bottle out? Let's have a little look. Marvin, where are you? Come on, let's have you. Look, Marvin, how can you say you've been timed out when you're typing? You haven't been timed out, Marvin. You've just written in the chat.
Come on, Marv, let's have you.
Marvin, you might but even you got to be smiling. Come on, you got to be smiling. This is like being at a comedy show in the audience, and you've just heckled the comedian, and he's calling you out.
Marvelous, Marvin. Anyway, we love you,
Marvin,
Marvin.
have
We
a
love
lovely
you.
weekend, Marvin.
Have a nice Easter. Happy Easter. And here we go. My comments. My comments. Oh right, okay. Let's go back to him. He's up there somewhere, Paul.
I can't find him now.
commenting.
Where's he gone?
Hold on.
I've got an even better one. Rich.
Right.
I've got
Okay. Right. I can, if you go to, I have to put my glasses on to find out where he is. Sorry about this, guys, but this is what you do when. Okay, 9:45 p.m.
Bloody hell, I'm at 9:40. Marvin the Melt. Marvin
Armstrong 3372.
My comment when I mentioned Jay shadow ban. No, they're not, Marvin. Don't tell Porkies.
Well, I think he's just answered our question there, hasn't he?
Yeah, exactly, Marvin.
You've answered the question.
Exactly,
so it is obviously, you have a problem with Jewish people, Marvin. Just own it. I have a problem with Islam. I don't have a problem with Muslims. I have a problem with Islam. I think it's a dangerous.
Marvin, I'm not going to ban you. Marvin, I'm not going to ban you. Or if you don't like Jewish people, I'm not going to ban you. But just be honest with us, right? It's not an issue, is it? Just tell us the truth.
I would love to know. I'd love to know why he doesn't like them.
Pia Ocean, Hope. Can we talk about European Parliament vote on return regulations? 389 favour, 206 against, 32 abstentions. Sweden, Germany, Netherlands, Greece, all on board. It's a sign of change ripple effect. I think I better read that a bit slowly. Right, Hope. Can we talk about European Parliament vote on return regulations? Are you talking about returning of people?
I think it must be. Let me try. Will I Google this, Paul, while you're reading it, mate? Yeah. Let me try and see what Google's got to say.
Regulations 389 favour, 206 against, 32 abstentions. Sweden, Germany, Netherlands, Greece, all on board. Yeah, it's got to be. She's got to be talking about returning of migrants, I would imagine. It's a sign of change, ripple effect. Well, one would hope so.
Okay, what have we got here?
And Clad has now gifted 5 memberships to my viewers as well. Thank you so much.
You see, that's because you
didn't want to leave me out.
That's because you're an old beg there, Paul. You're an old beg.
Yeah.
You went for the sympathy vote there.
Get it right. Thank you, Alan. Appreciate that, mate. Thank you. And this one's for you. Hi, Claire from Counter Media.
Okay, 389 votes in favour, 206 against, 32 abstentions. Return regulations, MEP start negotiations. So the European Parliament has advanced a new EU returns regulation March 2026 to strengthen the removal of non-EU nationals and send them to the UK. It doesn't say that, by the way, just before I trigger everyone. But that's what'll happen, Paul. That's what's going to happen, mate. You know, if the EU go down this road, we're going to have a flood of people coming across on dinghies.
Yeah. Pom says not immigration, just return of illegals. Yeah.
I mean, that's. I think that's. Let's get right, Paul. That's Restore's policy, right? That's Advance's policy, and that is, as far as I know, it's Reform's policy now. I think as well, isn't it? That all the illegals get grabbed, deported, sent wherever we can send them. You know, and I think it's pretty much the same with. With people that are terrorists.
Richard, I'm afraid if Reform tell us today's Friday, I'm going to check the newspaper on the Friday.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. I agree 100%.
You know, I hope I'm wrong, Richard, because it's very likely they're going to play a major role in the next general election. I think that's fairly obvious, right? Let's be honest about it, right? But
well, here's the thing, Paul. Right? Here's the thing. I think there's some sensible people in Reform still. You know, I a lot of time for Suella Braverman. Jenrick, not sure about Jenrick, but there's still some good. We've got friends in Reform still. We've got some very good friends in Reform. Yeah, so that believe exactly what we believe, right? Yeah. So, to me, there needs to be some way of getting the right to unite. There really does, and that doesn't mean that Restore stops being Restore, or Advance stops being Advance, or even all the really small parties, and the Conservative Party will be a really small party by the next election, no doubt. But there needs to be, all the good people need to get their heads banged together, and I think there's one man that's standing in the way of that. I think it's Nigel Farage.
Yeah, I think he probably feels that he doesn't need anyone else. That's the thing.
Well, he's wrong. He's wrong.
Yeah.
He's very wrong. Because to get the sort of majority that we need, what he's doing, he's more leaning into the Lib Dem side of things than he is leaning into the Advance, Restore, Unite the Kingdom pledge side of things. Yeah. So it's yeah.
Yeah, I think the thing is, Karen, when you say it was always Reform's policy, yeah, they have tweaked. I've had battles this week with people online that are telling me that Restore's immigration policy has not changed. It has. They've been tweaking it virtually live online. So for anyone to say that
this is about reform. You said reform. You said
sorry,
restore. You
Restore.
Reform.
No, I mean Restore now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, she's talking about reform.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
yeah, these bloody are like Reform, Restore.
I know.
Hell.
Well, reform.
Sorry,
no.
Karen.
Can I just come in on that? Right. Reform. Okay. Reform's policy was what they called net zero migration, which was absolutely not what Advance and Restore are proposing. Advance and Restore are proposing remigration of illegals, stopping immigration, getting control of the demographics, and certainly doing something about extremist Islam. Now, Reform are not on that page yet. I think they're coming closer. In fact, you know what, Paul? I say the Tory party are actually getting... The Tory, Kemi Badenoch talked about banning the burqa last week.
Yeah, but again, how much do you trust her?
Well, I don't, Paul, but the point is, this is what's happening because of the...
It's the Overton window being shifted.
It's the Overton window being shifted because of what Advance have done, because of what Tommy's done, because of what UTK's done, because of what Restore have done, because of, us launching projects like the Pledge.
Yeah.
All of those things. But can I just come back on that? There's Matt in the comments. No, it wasn't you, because you're not from Glasgow. You've never said anything about the Jews. It was somebody else. But you know the person that said it anyway, thy haggis. But it wasn't you, because he doesn't want people thinking that he was talking about the Jews, which he wasn't. Okay.
No.
But anyway, it'd be great to see you back on the channel sometime. But yeah, so I think things are moving. Everybody's moving to the right, on the right, if that makes sense, apart from Reform.
Well, I think everyone's moving further to the right on one side and further to the left on the other, aren't they? I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
Nigel Farage, Nick Buckley, thank you, mate, by the way. Nick Buckley was on paper by far the best candidate for Gorton and Denton, yet polled less than the raving loony candidate. Unfairly sidelined by media, it demonstrated that PR is everything in politics. Fair point.
Yeah. I mean, the interesting thing is that Matt Goodwin, who is controversial, obviously, he shouldn't really be controversial. I quite like Matt Goodwin. I think he's quite good. But Matt Goodwin should have done better in that election. And it wasn't because Advance stood, because obviously Nick polled very poorly in the election. And again, I don't know why that was, but it's just a fact. But probably because they didn't really, it was such a late last minute thing, wasn't it, getting him in there? But I think
it was a mistake, to be honest, Rich.
Yeah, it was, definitely. No doubt about it. It was definitely a mistake. But I can see the logic in it. The logic in putting him in was saying, well, we're a political party, we should stand. And it's the first by-election that they stood in, so that they've popped the cherry. I mean, they, not very successfully, but they did. And I see the logic, but I think it was a mistake in hindsight. But it's not. It's like everything.
Yeah.
If you don't, doing nothing's a mistake as well, Paul. Inaction's a mistake. So you can act. I'd rather act and get something wrong than not act and just sit on the sidelines all the time.
Yeah, no, look, absolutely. I get that. I just think maybe it was a tad too early.
I think it was just rushed, Paul. I think it was just rushed,
Yeah.
So, but I mean, putting all that to one side, Matt Goodwin should have done a lot better. And this is where if the right was united, right, Matt would have done better. If every single right-wing party had said, "Do you know
Of
what?
course, yeah, of course.
Reform are okay." So if obviously Restore hadn't even launched, I don't think at that stage, but if everybody on the right said, "Everyone get behind Matt Goodwin. He's a good guy. Vote for him," and
Look,
that could
Rich,
have made a difference.
this is going to be, and this is my whole goddamn point, and I know it's yours as well. And where people, either we don't articulate ourselves well enough, or people just ain't getting it right, is that, look, mate, I will vote for Reform. I'll vote for Advance. I'll vote for Restore. God damn it, I'll even hold my nose and vote Tory if it keeps the Greens out, right?
If it was if Nick Timothy was my MP, I'd be voting for Nick Timothy.
But here's the deal, right? Do those leaders of all these parties, does the right in general have the what's the word? The intelligence? I don't know. Yeah, let's use the word intelligence. Do they have the intelligence, and do they love the country enough, as they say they do, to actually be able to swallow their pride, hold their nose, and vote for the right party at the right moment in time? And that could be for any one of those four parties.
I agree, 100%. I agree.
100%. I mean, it's no good getting to the general election, right? And the Conservatives are, let's say the Tories are polling at, I don't know, 30%, and the Labour Party are polling at 30%. It's neck and neck. And you stubborn ass go out there and vote for Advance or Restore, right? When you know goddamn well they're not going to win that seat, you've got to vote for the Tories, whether you like it or not. You have to be big enough to say, right, let's keep these buggers out, because that is precisely what the other side will do. I promise you. You better believe it.
Yeah,
you better believe it.
And it's the same in Northern Ireland. Northern Ireland does exactly the same. When the votes split, the candidates that aren't for the union get in, right? The nationalist candidates get in. When the votes come together, when it's a unity candidate, like what happened in my constituency in North Down, the unity candidate won. And I would imagine if my local MP Alex Easton stands again, he'll be a unity candidate, and all the unionist parties, I would hope, would get behind him, including Advance. That's my hope, because, he's the guy with the most chance of winning the election.
Yeah.
And that's what, if you've got something, Jane Harper was saying Nick Timothy's her MP. Nick Timothy is an absolutely incredibly brave MP. And he's had like a Damascus conversion. He was very much, he was Theresa May's advisor. So, I mean, he must have been a bit liberal. You know what I mean? So, again, and we got Robert Jenrick in Reform now, who seems to be saying the right things. You've got Suella.
Richard, there's a lot of positive things. There's a lot of positives.
So much positive things. And I think we've got to ask questions about the people who have been consistently attacking us for having our political views, right? Not because we're wrong uns or because we're doing anything dodgy, but they attacked us purely because we didn't support Restore, Paul. Yeah, or I didn't. Not you. I didn't support Restore, and I'm still sticking with Advance, right? But we got attacked for that. That was it. And in politics, if there's a competing party and you don't think they're doing the right thing, you've got a right to call that party out.
Rich, you know what? I'm actually convinced it's a whole lot deeper than that now.
Oh, Paul, it is.
It's a whole lot deeper than that. But anyone watching this now, let me tell you something. There is things going on in the background, right, that are concerted efforts to destroy everything that has any remote possibility of winning our country back, right?
Absolutely.
Of getting the right people in power. There is a concerted effort to destruct and destroy. And it may not all be obvious to everyone yet, but trust me when I tell you that one day, in the not too distant future, all this is going to come out to play. And a lot of people out there pretending to be your friends right now, shame on them, right? And a lot of people are going to go, wow, I never saw that coming in a few months' time. Trust me.
The hidden things of darkness will come to light. That's what's going to happen. There's a hidden hand behind this, right? And I think, I'm gathering evidence There are other people are gathering evidence, but we know there's a hidden hand. And this little bit will be clipped by the people that are working for the hidden hand, no doubt, because we know who you are. We know what you're doing. We're not going to name you. We're not going to go
And
down
we
that
know
road.
the ultimate goal as well. We know what the ultimate
Absolutely.
goal is. It is
Absolutely.
to destroy. It is destroy. And I say this with fire in my heart and in my belly. Their aim is to destroy the saviour or the possibility of us saving the United Kingdom. And when I say us, I don't mean me and you, Richard. I mean all of us together. Us.
Absolutely.
The British people.
And it
love our country.
It is anti-Christian. It is immoral. And a lot of it has been financed and funded from extremist countries, and that's all I'm going to say. And we know that. This is
coordinated. This is organised, coordinated. It has sucked some naive people in.
Yeah.
Right. And it has. Well, I think we'll leave it at that, Richard.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
But I tell you now, right? Coming down the line is Redemption Day. Right?
Absolutely. And I mean, look, the thing is, Paul, it's a compliment that this is happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
That means we're over the target. So, Jennifer, it is demonic. You're absolutely right. It is demonic. And, I think what happens is as well, you know what, it gives you more grit, and you realise if they're going after us with that amount of venom, then there's something.
And it's not just Richard. It's not just me and you. We must make that clear. We're not crying victim from Paul and Richard. There's a lot of other people involved here as well.
There's a lot of other people getting hit.
A lot of other people
getting hit.
Yeah.
And but we're still here, Paul.
Yeah, we ain't going nowhere.
We're not going anywhere. In fact, I think me and you are the same. That basically, the more they go at us,
thank you, Sharon.
We're going to stand.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fight. But
100%.
Anyway, not physically, just in case anybody takes that as a threat. We're not going to fight physically, but we're going to stand our ground on our political principles, and we're not going to compromise what we believe. And the thing is, we don't attack them, but we don't attack other people for their beliefs, No,
not at all. Let me just send one message, mate.
Okay. I mean, I while you're doing that, I'll talk. I got accused of doing something last week, right? Of making a fake AI video. I didn't do it. It's a complete lie. The accusation was a veiled accusation, and because I didn't respond to the veiled accusation, the person that made it said, "Oh, well, he must have done it then." So that's the sort of stuff we're putting up with, Paul. It's childish and it's petty. Have you seen the cartoons they're making, mate? There's some great cartoons.
Richard, mate, let me just tell you something, right? And I'm smiling while I say it, right? I counted over 40 videos last week that were made about me, right?
Awesome, mate.
Brilliant. Absolutely awesome.
That's what you call free PR. You know what I mean?
Well, look, Rich, the way I look at it like this.
At least people know who you are, you know what I mean?
When people are making 40 videos about you across the YouTube platform, right? You know you're doing something right. It's when they're not making videos about you that you got to start worrying.
Mate, listen, me and you have our own comic strips now, mate. We are the. Listen. If you're in a comic strip, who do you want to be? Do you want to be the sugary little victim or the supervillain? We're the supervillains in our own comic strips, mate. It's amazing. I think it's fantastic.
I've got a great story actually. Let me just read this out. Pierre Ocean, thank you so much. Sending them to detention centres in Albania and Africa. Thank you for clarifying that.
I get that, but I think that's a bit extreme for our critics on the internet, sending them to detention centres.
I don't know, mate. I'm not
actually, maybe send them to Africa. They might enjoy it out there.
Party Pants, thank you very much, Julie. God bless you, Julie. Happy Easter, all. God bless. Stronger together, absolutely. Phil, what you lads think about Tommy Fury versus Eddie Hall in June?
Oh,
this one I'm looking forward to.
Well, can Eddie take a good dig? I think he can.
Mate, I don't know. I mean, I've got to tell you, right, all this celeb boxing,
it's a bit of fun.
It's a bit of fun, but
it's like Big Daddy and Giant Haystacks were in the 70s.
I'm a bit of a purist, mate. Listen, I'm an 80s man when the boxing's concerned. Hagler Hearns, I
know. I watched that the other week, Hagler and Hearns. Absolutely incredible.
Got a great little story. So I took the kids out last night, my two daughters, my wife, my son-in-law, three of the grandchildren. We went to a place in Benidorm that specialises in kids' entertainment, right? And what it is, it's a pub, right? And they have a fake Eminem, a fake Justin Bieber, right?
Yeah.
And it's brilliant. They get all the kids involved and blah, blah, blah. It's an amazing night out, and it was really, really lovely, right? All of a sudden, halfway through the night, a young girl comes over to me about, I don't know, 10, 12. She said, "You're Paul, weren't you?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "My mum said it's never Paul," right? So she went back and her mum came over. She said it was me daughter that spotted you, not me. Bless her little heart. That was lovely. That was really nice. But what a cracking night! The bar's called Vincent's, by the way. It's a big chain. But if you're out here in Benidorm and you've got kids with you, get yourselves along to Vincent's because they do a great night for the kids. And yeah, it was just amazing. And Justin Bieber, by the way, or Justin Feeble, whatever they called him, was bloody brilliant. I've got to tell you.
Better than the original. Now,
Well,
Paul, you know what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen. The next comic strip about you is going to be about Vincent's and you in Vincent's, and basically,
Justin Bieber.
Yeah. That's what it's going to be, mate. This is the next comic strip. So we're giving them some material.
I could be Justin Hasbin, couldn't I?
just in the bin.
Just in the bin, yeah. Jackie, so Paul Richard, general election tomorrow. Where do you both stand, restore or advance? Jackie, I'm going to be truthful with you. General election tomorrow, reform. You said tomorrow.
Yeah, Alex Easton, my local MP. Unity candidate. That's where I stand on that.
Jackie, if you ask me the same question in a year's time, it could well be restore. It could even be advanced. Who knows, right? But tomorrow. And I'm taking that to, it's you're precisely the word. Yeah. If it was tomorrow in my constituency, it would have to be restore. It could be the Tories if you was in some seat where it's regularly a safe Tory seat, so that's the thing. That's where we are, Jackie. I think, aren't we? Good boy, T-shirt for Richard. You know, and you know.
Right, Paul. Can you get this one from Trevor Bailey? 10:08.
10:08. Trevor, blimey, I've got to go back a bit.
Well, do you want me to just read it?
Go on, read it out.
My father left Jamaica and joined the RAF during World War II. If he could see what the UK has become, he would be in tears. He loved England and the late Queen. Made us watch the Queen's speech at Christmas, and that is. Yeah, that is the sort of message that warms my heart.
Yeah. Is Danny in the chat there tonight? I've seen a couple of people.
Danny in there. He should be on the screen. He should be on the screen. Let's get him on. Can you ping him a link, Paul? See if he come on.
I can't actually without. I have to come off me. Yeah, I'm on the laptop.
Yep.
Naughty granddad taking the kids to the pub, training them young. Yeah, well, granddad don't drink, you see, so I'm a good example. In fact, it's funny because everyone's had a drink, not except for the kids, obviously, and I'm the bleeding taxi driver, aren't I? So I'm on the orange juice. But it is what it is, right, Richard? Let's get on to the last, but probably the most important topic of the night. Like I said, God forbid, it's not a topic that we really like to discuss.
Yeah.
And we'll avoid the term civil war. Let's not go that far, right? But let's just say there was some serious mass disturbance in your street. I've got my own ideas, and I've already been through in the past how I used to secure my property. I mean, as a former serviceman that spent years on the streets in Northern Ireland, do you have any advice for people that might be concerned about what they do in a sudden emergency? Remember, this is not planned. This suddenly it happens, and it's happening at the end of your street.
It depends on what it is, Paul. It really does depend on what it is. If it's marauding shooters with AK-47s and you've got a kitchen knife, well, you're going to hunker down. You're going to lock everything up. You're going to get somewhere that is pretty much is going to be behind a solid brick wall that no bullets are going to get through. I mean, if you talk about something like what happened on October the 7th in Israel, then unless you've got a firearm and you're proficient in it, you've got to really, if it's a mass attack like that, you've got to try and hide.
I think
And I
we
hate
need to be
saying that.
realistic. No, I think we need to be realistic,
Yeah.
Richard. In this country or in the UK, thank God, because of the lack of firearms freely available, I think an October the 7th style attack is unlikely.
Well,
what would be more likely? Yeah, sorry, I'll just finish this and then come back.
Yeah, sorry, mate. Sorry.
That's all right. What would be more likely is a marauding gang wielding, weapons that you hold in your hand. It could be knives, it could be clubs or whatever. Maybe a firearm involved, who knows? But it's not going to be a Hamas style attack with 500 men, 1,000 men, all armed to the teeth of AK-47s, is it?
Well, possibly not. It depends, Paul. We don't know. That's the problem. We don't know whether the people have smuggled firearms in the country. We know that the only people that have weapons in the country now are the military, the police. Obviously, there are. I think you said 500,000. Is it 500,000 firearms certificates?
That's dwindling though, because the police are.
Well, they're making it harder and harder.
Taking them away by the hour.
The gun license has literally just gone up because I was going to get myself. I was going to apply for one. The gun license just gone up, I think, to £289 in Northern Ireland. It was something like £99. So it's gone up, 300% or something. So the sad reality is that the only people that have firearms now are police officers, soldiers on duty, and criminals, and terrorists. They're the only people that actually have firearms. So there could be a firearm, there could be a gun attack. I think it is unlikely. But who knows? It's not that difficult to smuggle stuff into the UK. I wouldn't imagine if you can smuggle thousands of migrants across the channel every day, you're not going to have a problem smuggling a few
who knows?
I think there's a couple of things with that question, Paul. One of the things that I was always very aware of when the troubles were going, even after I left the military, I was a target until, well, in some ways I'm probably still a target now for certain really crazy headbangers, on the Republican side, but not so much as it was 10 years ago, and certainly not so much as it was 20 years ago. But 20 years ago, and this is the thing, right? There was areas I just would not drive into.
Yeah.
I would not drive into them because if my car got stopped, short hair, English accent, they're only going to think one thing. And of course, they would have been right. I'm an ex-soldier. I mean, but and obviously they were.
Yeah, the Union Jack in the back of the car probably didn't help.
Yeah,
but
but that's the thing, Paul. I never had a Union Jack. A lot of times, if it was coming up to Remembrance Day, I wear a poppy badge all the time now. Didn't wear a poppy badge if I was going into a Republican area. I was very, very aware of my personal security. If I was coming up to traffic lights, I would stay slightly back. If I could, stay slightly back from the traffic lights, foot on the clutch, in gear, just ready to go.
Yeah.
And when you live in that environment, you have what you call situational awareness. You're constantly aware of what's happening around you, and you're constantly taking in what's happening around you. So I think that's the first thing. You've got to have situational awareness. You've got to understand what's happening on the street and what you're going to do about it. And it's a very difficult thing because if there's a violent attack on someone, especially if it's a woman or a child, you would like to think you'd do something about it, right? But if there's a mob of 10 people with, baseball bats and knives, none of us are getting any younger, Paul.
Yeah.
That's a real challenge for me because my heart says if a vulnerable person is getting attacked by a mob, you try and help them.
Yeah.
But if you go and help them, then become a casualty yourself. Mm-hmm. So these are very deep questions, and you can only really decide on the action you're going to take in each individual circumstance. But
I'm basically talking about women, the elderly, people alone, people that are, not able to pick something up and defend themselves.
Yeah, what do they do? Is that we say?
What do they do? Yeah, what do they do?
What
do they do?
Okay, I think the most if you're out on the street and you're an elderly person and you see some sort of an attack going on, as hard as it will be, especially if you're a veteran, is, I mean, I think I'm still young enough to be able to possibly maybe do something, I don't know, but you're not going to go looking for it. If you see something happening and you're not quite sure what's going on, I think the best thing to do is stay away from what's happening, walk positively and briskly away from it, and as soon as you get out of view of the people who are carrying out the attack, get on the phone to the police straight away. That's if I was an infirm elderly person or a woman, that's what I'd do. If I thought I could physically do something about it, or I could at least put them off, or I was armed in some way myself that I thought I could defend myself, I'd like to think I would try and help the person that was being attacked in some way. But again, you've got to weigh those things up. But I think for an elderly person, an infirm person or a woman, and that's not to denigrate any women, because a lot of women can fight like banshees. But I think if we're talking about sort of fairly vulnerable people and you're on the street and that happens, walk positively away from don't run, walk positively away from what's happening. Get somewhere that's out of line of sight. If you've got a mobile phone, get on the phone to the police. Or if you haven't got a mobile phone, knock a door if it's a friendly area and get someone to phone the police. If the police is still operating, it depends on the scenario you're talking about, Paul, But it's a horrible thing to think like that.
It is. Yeah, I mean, what I would say.
I'll give you an example, actually, Paul. This actually happened to me. I was in London ages ago, and I just nipped into a supermarket to get a bottle of water. It was late at night. Nipped into the supermarket, get a bottle of water. I was on my own, and these lads came steaming into, and they were in their late teens, early 20s. They looked like, I'm going to say it, they looked like immigrants, and they ran at the shop, grabbed a crate of beer, and ran out of the shop. And there was a security guard standing next to me, and there was another security guard over there, and I was looking at the security guard saying, do you want to sort of, and he just shook his head like that, just shook his head. And they legged out the shop, and I felt absolutely disgusted with myself for not doing something or saying something. But what could you do when there's and there was, I don't know how many there was it 8 or 10 lads or something? What are you actually going to do realistically against a crowd like that that's stealing a crate of beer? Is it worth giving your life for a crate of beer?
No. And I think,
but you still feel bad when you don't do anything.
You do. I mean, for me, I'm thinking more of the elderly, the vulnerable, maybe mums with kids or whatever. And we don't even have to necessarily talk about, civil unrest. I mean, my thoughts and views on this and my advice could go in everyday regular life, because you never know, when you might be a target for, a burglar. And I don't want to frighten people or just going through a scenario, right? But I mean, for me, it was the same as when I was a luxury watch dealer and I had to secure my home. I would always advise someone, especially if you're in an area of high risk, shall we say. If you're in an area that is a high risk area, which these days is pretty much bloody everywhere, certainly I always used to dedicate one room as a safe room, and that room would have as fewer doors as possible, so you don't want to pick a room that's got more than one door. You want a room that only has one entry, and most places are going to have a window, but you want to be able to get in that room as quick as you can and secure it. And when I mean secure it, I don't just mean shut the door and put the lock on. You want to have 3 or 4 deadbolts on the door, and maybe even a bar on the other side, because security doors are very expensive to buy, but you can actually firm up a door inside if you do it properly. And you can go on the internet, on YouTube, and how do I secure a door from the inside? It's not expensive, and depending on the severity of the attack and potentially the length of it, a few cans of food and a tin opener, a few bottles of water, a mobile phone, all those sort of things you're going to need to gain access to pretty goddamn quickly. So really, the preparation is very, very simple and extremely cheap. But if you don't prepare, you're preparing to fail. And that really is my message, is that, look, let's hope that you never have to put any of these plans into action. But wouldn't you be sorry if you did and you hadn't done it? So for me, I always used to have a room that was prepared, ready. I had I think 6, was it 4 or 6? Anyway, I had a number of deadbolts on one side of the door, and on the other side of the door was a metal bar that my security guy fixed for me so that the door could not be kicked in. And, I suppose any door can be kicked in, but this door would have taken 2 men probably half an hour to kick in. And they don't want to be doing that. They haven't got the time. The idea is that they move along somewhere else. So really, it's all about simple preparation. Have a room where you can secure yourself almost like a bomb shelter during the Second World War. If the air raid siren went off, where did you go? To the bomb shelter. And today in 2026, if you get a bloody riot break out at the end of your street, head to your safe room, make sure you're prepared, mobile phone, some food, water, and you will survive. You will keep out of harm's way. That will be my advice.
Yeah, I mean, during the Troubles, I mean, people that lived in high-risk areas, whether it was, policemen, prison officers, soldiers, UDR, or even paramilitaries of both sides, they actually, sometimes they had steel on the, like between the floors. So, so they had sort of a certain amount of bulletproof. So if people shot up through the floorboards, they could get you. Excuse me. And they had cages. So they built a cage at the end of the stairs. And when they went to bed at night, they basically barred the cage, right? So that now that was not every. I mean, a lot of people didn't do that at all. They didn't do anything, and they would have big, like you're saying, big bars on the front doors. This was before you had like the triple lock, double glazing doors. But they'd had a big bar across, across a doorway. In the interface areas, they had mesh on the windows, so they had like, wire mesh over the windows to stop bricks and bottles coming over the peace lines and stuff. So, this is the thing. If it goes the way that a lot of people are saying, and we're not going to mention it because obviously we don't want to get the channel dinged, but if it's going the way that people are saying, then you will have interface areas in England, and people will be picked out because of the way they look. That's going to happen, unfortunately.
Look, Richard, we have to be realistic and say that, with the amount of people, eminent people now saying that civil war in the UK is a genuine possibility, I think it's a fair and rightful discussion to offer people a little bit of advice as to if there was a mass disturbance down their street or in their vicinity, what can you prepare for to keep yourself and your kids safe?
Exactly.
And minimal effort can make a hell of a lot of difference, because remember, these people, they move along quickly. They attack, they go. They attack, they go. They move on. You might only have to put some of these people off for 30 seconds for them to decide, I'll move on.
Yeah, and obviously the other problem is as well is letterboxes. If you've got a letterbox, flammable liquid through the letterbox, that's another issue. I mean, you don't want to have a letterbox. Have one on the wall.
Terrible. Nuri, oh blimey, how can I read that? Nuriana. That is a difficult name to read. On belief.
Do you know who that is? That's Nuria. She was at UTK and she spoke at UTK in Trafalgar Square.
Nuria,
she did a great job.
I'm so sorry. I can say Nuria. Nuria. I'm just thick, Nuria. That's all it is. Muslim mob threats must have got to Lubna. Glad to know she's okay. Don't let them silence you. Keep exercising your right to critique Islam. This is the UK. Nuria, thank you very much.
And again, I mean, I'd have 1,000 Nurias over some of the idiots that we've got in Parliament at the minute. You know what
Nuria,
I mean?
now I can read it.
I'd rather have Nuria than Keir Starmer.
Nuria calm beyond belief. Now I can read it.
Yep.
Sorry, Nuria. I'm an hour in front of you here. It's 11:30.
Naria has been get Naria on the channel, Paul, because she's been smashing it. I've been watching her on different channels, and she's been doing a really
Get
great
in
job. So
touch, Naria. Get in touch.
keep fighting the good fight, Naria. 100%.
Thank you. Kenny, spare a thought for us poor Glaswegians. The biggest opposition to SNP is Labour FFS. Oh,
Mate.
Kenny.
I know, Kenny. I know, mate. And that's the
Kenny.
problem. What do you do with that? What do you do? I think on that one you've got if you've got two lefty candidates, right? They're all going to be as bad as each other. I think you've got to just on principle vote for the right wing candidate of your choice. You know.
Kenny, I'll tell you what I'll do in that case. I'd stay in bed. But
Or move.
Cyberstorm, what did you both think about Danny Tomo's videos this week filming the invaders coming in down in Dover? Look, I've been watching them. They're enlightening. They're frustrating. I saw Danny talking about potentially buying a boat. I left a comment on one of his videos. I thought the boat that he looked at was probably an ideal type of vessel, having had a few boats myself. I don't know. I just, we're at a loss. I mean,
I thought the one was funny where he was sitting on the pier. And he got the other side of the fence, and he was kind of the cops had him like on a, don't throw yourself in the water watch. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I thought it was quite funny. It was good fun. Yeah.
I mean, Danny's another one that's taken a load of grief recently. But I mean, look, the man's trying. You can't do any more. What more can you do? What more can you do?
We need a plan.
Julie, great you guys are talking about this. Prepare. Exactly, Julie. Yeah. Thank you. Like
Absolutely,
I said,
Julie,
failing to prepare is preparing to fail. That is, unfortunately, the cold, hard truth of the matter.
And the worst thing is sardines have gone up in price, but there's even a shortage of sardines now. So you can't
Don't mention sardines to Tommy, will you? Don't suggest that Tommy puts sardines to one side, because I don't think he'll do that.
Is he still on the sardines, is he?
Well, he's sick of them, I would imagine, wouldn't you?
Do you know what? I think, well, the problem is, because you only get a certain budget when you're in prison, don't you? So the price of sardines now, you'd only be able to afford one tin a week. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I don't know, Rich, because I've never been myself, mate. Are you a man that's speaking from experience?
No, I'm not. No. Well, unless you can count the army, Nick. But that was just something different.
Right, Rich, anything to add before we go? I've enjoyed tonight, as always. Go on, mate.
16th of May, right? Now, don't ask me where you go to do it. I think you're going to Tommy's Twitter page, I think. I think you can find the links on there. If you're going to the event on the 16th of May, we want a whole lot of stewards. We want to make it as safe as possible. So if you want to actually take part in a big way on the 16th and you want to be a steward, definitely jump onto Tommy's Twitter, on Urban Scoot's Twitter. I'm sure there'll be something pinned there somewhere so that you can be a steward. And again, try and get yourself to London on the 16th of May as well.
Good point here by Rodney. The migrants are not being smuggled into the country. They are being delivered by the English and French governments. 100%, Rodney, you are correct. With that comment, we will say thank you so much for everyone joining us tonight. Happy Easter. If King Charles won't wish you a happy Easter, we have King Dick here to do this.
Well, yeah,
King Richard.
Well, I mean, from a Christian point of view, Easter is the big festival. It's the absolute cornerstone of Christianity. It's celebrating, and this. I mean, how weird does this sound? Celebrating the death of Christ, but that's what it is. It's because.
Talking about that. One last thing I saw in the Daily Mail today. Believe it or not, for my sins, right?
Yeah.
The Turin Shroud. New evidence today on the Turin Shroud. Have you read it at all? Have you seen it?
No, I haven't. I haven't. I mean, the Turin Shroud has been, wow, it's been floating about for years, and there's a lot of very serious people believe it is the real thing.
Well, today,
serious people.
The Turin Shroud's biggest critic, over going back for many years, has stated that after the latest research on it, he believes it is genuine.
Yep.
And if you don't know about the Turin Shroud, or if you haven't followed it, a little bit of bedtime viewing for you tonight. Go onto YouTube, type in the story of the Turin Shroud, watch how they did the negative reverse photographs on it, etc. Look at all the evidence, look at the debunking evidence, and then look at the post debunking evidence, and leading right up to today's article in the Daily Mail. Absolutely fascinating, particularly obviously at Easter. Well worth a watch.
Yep, that's great. I mean, again, it's been, there is a lot of evidence for the Turin Shroud, and has been for, for many, many years. And that, so again, that doesn't, if the Turin Shroud was shown to be a fake, it wouldn't disprove the resurrection. But if the Turin Shroud can be shown to be very, very authentic, then it's another piece of evidence to prove the resurrection. But obviously,
well, the latest evidence on this, and they even reckon they believe they've tied down the actual date of the crucifixion.
Wow, from the Turin Shroud. Wow, yeah.
Well,
there's a lot of people. Again, with artifacts, I'm always like, it's weird with the resurrection, right? Because it's Easter, so we can talk about this. We won't talk about it whenever we want. We talk about it all the time on my channel. But with the resurrection, with me, I have no doubt. It's not like something that I go, oh, did it happen? Look at the evidence. I have no doubt in my mind and in my heart that the resurrection happened. I know it happened. It's not like I need to have a Turin Shroud. I know for a fact that Christ rose from the dead. And that might sound very arrogant, or it might sound very simplistic, but I just know, and the Bible says if you believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you confess your mouth Jesus is Lord, and believe in your heart God raised him from the dead, you'll be saved. And I know for sure that Christ rose from the dead.
Richard, I've got something that needs resurrecting, but luckily you can buy a little blue tablet for that these days. So
do you know what? He can't help himself, can he? Anyone that's coming across from my channel, you wouldn't get that on my channel, guys. Do you know what I mean? But
right, we're going to love you and leave you on that note before I shame myself any further. So we'll see you soon. God bless everyone. Have a great weekend. See you later.